And we are recording. Hello and welcome to Next to Nothing, a podcast for gamers on a budget. I know this is way different than what we've been doing for almost 2 years now for the show, but we kind of have to do it because my internet speed is just not cutting it right now. At least it's not being reliable, I should say. So we are recording this episode. You guys are seeing this as a premiere on YouTube or Twitch. So we hope you guys enjoy this this a little bit different. The show is still gonna be the same. We're still gonna talk about the same thing. It's gonna be all the same stuff, all the same bullshit that you guys are used to. But enough rambling about why the show is different. I'm your host, Danny K. With me, as always, my wonderful, beautiful co-host, now sporting a sumo tail, Mr. Green Elite. How you doing, Mr. Green Elite?
I've been rocking the sumo tail for like 3 weeks now.
It was a sumo knot. Now it's a full blown sumo tail.
Well, yeah, I didn't put it in the knot today.
There's like an inch requirement for knot to tail.
I'm doing really good though. How you doing, Danny?
I'm doing pretty well. I cannot complain, at least not yet. This week, this is just the boys, so we have Revsfen with us as well. Well, we always have Revsfen with us. But Revsfen, how you doing?
Oh, that's funny you should ask. I'm doing horribly. No, I'm kidding. I'm doing okay, all things considered. I may have suffered a mild heat stroke. I don't know. I've been feeling pretty down and out of it for the last couple of hours or so, but I'm doing good enough to be here with my friends.
Aww, that melt my heart over here. So of course, if you guys are new to the show, we welcome you guys. We appreciate you for joining us, for clicking that button. If this is your first time joining us, consider doing some of the following. If you like what we do, you guys can follow us on Twitch, and you guys can also subscribe to the YouTube channel that this is on. You can also hit that like button and ring that bell. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. And once again, we appreciate you guys for clicking on that button. You guys just want to get into it? Just start talking about the games we've been playing and such?
Let's just get right into it.
Let's just jump right into it.
Just dive in ass first. Let's go. I got the first cuss word this time. I was going to get the first cuss word. I didn't get the first F-bomb, but I got the first cuss word.
I'll get the first F-bomb.
So we have one second as I adjust everything here. So I'm going to start with YuGiOh Duel Links. So back on May 15th, Netflix released Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I immediately wanted to start going back to all my old comforts as a kid, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And so I started watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I wanted to play it. So I reinstalled YuGiOh Duel Links. I had played it before. This time I put it on my phone. I was playing it on PC first. I can tell you the experiences are almost exactly the same. There's basically no difference between the two apps. YuGiOh Duel Links is available on iOS, Android, and Windows, and I accessed it through Steam back when I installed it for the first time. So for Green, Rev, have either of you played Yu-Gi-Oh?
I did. I used to actually play the physical card game back like in the early days of it. And I played one of the old games for I think it was either the PlayStation or PlayStation 2, but I can't remember which one. All I remember is you were able to take because all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards have like a specific code at the bottom of them. You were able to put that in and actually transfer your real life deck into the game. And that was pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I never actually ended up doing that. Green, how about you? What was your experience with Yu-Gi-Oh?
I used to play the physical cards, and we'd have them at recess, and then we had this little dickhole that always cheated. He always had the same like 5 trap cards that would just completely dominate, and he always like did a shuffle to where they were like pretty much first hand. So like after that, no, his name was Wesley. So I'm calling you out, Wesley. Piece of shit. Yeah, so he'd always have it on the top, like his first or second go around, he'd have those cards, and it was pretty much done.
Yeah.
So, and he was also the same kid that would go, "You can't have this card. You can't have Pot of Greed. You can't have Exonia." Like the classic bitch.
To
Classic
be
bitch.
fair, there were certain cards you like the rules, if I remember correctly, where you could have 4 of any card unless the rule specifically stated otherwise.
3 of any card.
Okay. Anyways, see, and that green probably went in there with 4, and he was like, "I can have these," and he was like, "Actually."
I mean, Pot of
I
Greed was banned a couple different times. So I feel like we should explain Yu-Gi-Oh! For anyone who hasn't actually played Yu-Gi-Oh! If they're not within our demographic.
Those that aren't the biggest dorks like we are.
Yeah. Or who weren't like, well, me and Green, we were the perfect demographic. That show came out and that card game came out right at a time when me and Green were like 8 or 9. So for those who haven't,
Impressionable.
yeah, impressionable. It's a lot like how, I mean, the earlier show that we mentioned, Avatar: The Last Airbender, we were the perfect, that came out in 2007. We were the right demographic for that show. We were the target demo. So for people who have never played, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is similar to Magic the Gathering. It is in fact the idea of duel monsters started as a Magic the Gathering analog in the manga. The manga didn't actually have anything to do with card games explicitly for its first couple issues. It was actually kind of fucked up. It was about Yugi like actually murking people. It was pretty fucking dark. So yeah, very similar to Magic the Gathering as a trading card game. There are the physical cards. I played a lot of the physical cards, and I'm going to just real quick, I'm going to apologize to my mom and dad for the amount of money that they spent on Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I did get a lot of joy out of them. Love you guys.
I got an absolute mint off my Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards though.
Did you?
When I sold them at 15. Yeah, I sold all of them at 15 for $120.
Ooh.
Now, when Pokemon Go came out, I could have gotten a lot more my Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
Like a fucking a ton.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
An
make the
absolute
one.
shitload.
I'm gonna make the one absolute controversial statement, and then I'll step aside. The physical Yu-Gi-Oh card game better than the Pokemon trading card game, hands down.
Oh yeah.
Don't at me. 100%.
Yeah. I agree.
100%.
So
Like the gameplay.
yeah.
Just the game itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was much more fun to
gameplay,
play
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh than it was to play Pokemon
yeah.
cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I only collected Pokemon cards. I didn't really play like Pokemon itself. Which interestingly enough, I actually had a Game Boy game that was Pokemon card game. So like you do the same exact thing as Pokemon, like the original game where you travel, but you're playing cards.
Oh
playing the card
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
be a battle. Yeah. That
So
was wild.
yeah, so breaking down for people who don't know, breaking down Yu-Gi-Oh's gameplay, you have 3 different kinds of cards. You have monsters, which have some of them have special summoning conditions, and they can have effects that act a lot like traps and spells. There are also traps and spells. I should have also specified that, but first, traps generally are used as a debuff or prevent your opponent from taking an action, while spells are used to buff and improve your own odds of winning, kind of generally. Otherwise, they're pretty much indistinguishable, in my opinion. So yeah, the goal of the game is basically to bring your opponent's life points, which you both start with 4,000, down to 0. As far as I can tell, Duel Links it's fairly up to date with the current mechanics of the card game, because the card game is 20 years old. And I know there's a couple things like synchro monsters and pendulum monsters, 2 mechanics that I just don't really understand yet because I haven't had to build a deck around it. But there are some pretty significant differences between Duel Links and the regular analog card game. Most notably is the amount of spaces you have. You really only have, in the regular analog card game, you have 10 spaces, 5 for monsters, 5 for spells and traps. In Duel Links, you only have 6. 3 for monsters, 3 for spells and traps. This makes the games really quick. It also makes it fit really nicely on a phone screen, which is awesome. Games, like I said, are really quick. They take like 2 minutes against an NPC, and they do have like an auto duel function because NPCs are really fucking boring. PvP can take kind of 5 to 7 minutes depending on how long your opponent takes to make their turns, and also how annoying their fucking decks are. If they have a deck that like requires like a lot of drawing and discarding and like taking things in and out of the graveyard, it can take fucking forever. You can feel like you're playing against someone who's doing solitaire, which is just awful. So that's the gameplay of the game. Some of the stuff, because this is free to play, some of the stuff to notice right away. There are 2 currency types. There are gold coins and gems. Gold coins can be used to buy individual cards from an NPC called the card trader. And then gems are used to buy like structure packs and decks in the store. And then you can also pay outright for packs and decks with cash. I will say one of the things that I noticed the twice that I've kind of delved into this game is it's actually really generous with gems. It gives you a lot of things, or a lot of gems for it gives you a lot of gems like kind of like right out the gate, and then it gives you a lot of opportunities to earn gems. And I mean, right away, I mean, after like a couple days, I had like 3,000 gems, and some of the structure decks are like 500 gems, or you can buy 10 packs from a series for only like 500 gems. So it's really, I mean, pretty cheap and fairly generous. I had no problem building a deck that I liked. And I mean, they give you cards like there's like so many challenges and stuff, and there's even character progression that I'll get to in a second. But you know, it gives you a lot of cards, and it gives you lots of opportunities to get cards. So it's fairly generous for a free to play game. I don't know how other, you know, I think what's another trading card game? Hearthstone. What is it, like Runeterra? Artifact, I think there's a couple of them. I don't know how generous those games are with their cards and packs. I've heard things about Hearthstone being pretty difficult to get through with in terms of getting cards and setting up decks. But I've never actually played Hearthstone.
Yeah, one of my friends, he used to be on an actual team, a Hearthstone team in college, and he said that it's a very, very pay to win.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like never been a point like playing PvP that I've ever felt like I'm at a major disadvantage because of my deck. I will say, because it is a card game, I mean, there's a meta that's unavoidable. There are just certain cards and certain strategies that are undeniably better. That's just the way it is. You can't get around that in a card game. So that was one of those things. And I think they also do a pretty good job of combing out cards that would be overpowered and limiting them, which is nice. Like I mentioned, there is progression, so you actually select characters from the series to be your avatar, essentially, and then you level those characters up for rewards like gold coins, gems. Each character can have a different deck slot. They can have multiple deck slots, so you can have different decks built for very specific things. So as you level it up, as you level up a character, you get more options on how many decks you want to use for that character. Yeah, so I was playing mostly as Joey, with this shitty Boston accent or New York accent. What's that look for?
Joey.
he had a good. I usually play warrior decks, anyways.
Oh, he did have. Yeah, he always did have a good warrior deck.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
He had a good Rattata too.
Shut the fuck up. That's not even. Hold on, real quick. You Mister, there's only 151 Pokemon, and now he's gonna bring up a Gen 2 reference. What the fuck
youngster
is this?
Joey?
Yeah, youngster Joey's. He was the first youngster.
99.
He was the first youngster that you fought in Pokemon Gold, Crystal.
I
and Silver.
don't think so. I think he was in Gen 1.
They didn't name NPCs in Gen 1.
Yeah, he was his first named appearances in Gen 2. Fact check.
Get wrecked, son.
Oof.
So yeah, I was playing a warrior deck, mostly with like a couple ace cards being Buster Blader. So very hard dragon counter deck was what I was running. I've tweaked it a couple different times to try to mostly get easy summons off, like with Marketing Captain and stuff like that. That was my strategy, is just fucking army, getting as many monsters on the field as I could with as many power-ups available. You know, Swordsman of Landstar right there for that 400 attack bonus for every warrior on the, you know, on the battlefield. It was pretty fucking great. So yeah, that's overall, like, this has been actually a pretty fucking great time waster. Definitely something I'd recommend, like, you play on the bus or the train, or if you're on a break at work, or how I usually play mobile games, on the toilet or on the couch. It's like the two places I ever play mobile games.
Or while you're driving on long road trips.
Yes, while I'm driving specifically. Yes, while I'm in the driver's seat.
Don't.
Yeah. Let's disclaimer. Make sure we're not liable for you murdering yourself and other people in your car trying to play YuGiOh Duel Links and driving at the same time. Yeah, overall, it was a really enjoyable time to kind of go back to it, and I'm kind of interested to get back into seeing like how synchro monsters and stuff like that work, because I have no idea how they work. So yeah. Any thoughts? Have you guys tried out YuGiOh Duel Links at all?
I haven't, but you kind of got me. You kind of got me intrigued. I mean, you said it's a free to play, anyways, and
yeah.
I mean, I'd be willing to try it. I've been looking for a new time killer for my phone, anyways. So
yeah.
Get
it on the PC.
Yeah,
maybe.
I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah. Maybe we should run a little tournament between ourselves here.
You don't want to go down that road.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Your ass.
Is that a challenge?
That ass.
I think it's time to go to a different subject.
Before we do, I have one final question.
Yeah.
Who was your primary, like your go-to in your deck when you played physical? Like everybody had that like one monster. Mine, I went the Dark Magician route myself, but
yeah.
And then I had the Magic Cylinders, which was like the best trap card at the time.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Green, if you want to answer that first, because I'm trying to think about mine.
My favorite monster?
Yeah, like what was your go-to?
Like who was the one you kind of built your deck around? Like your one like powerful monster you had in your deck in when you played the real thing?
Well, mind you, this was over 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had a lot of Dark Magicians. And then I also conned my mom into, because eBay was just coming out and gaining popularity. I bought some Chinese knockoff Exodia pieces. Yeah, that were didn't.
You
have
were
that
Wesley.
Little... No, I didn't actually use them. I was like, look at these Exodia pieces that I had. So, but mainly, it was mainly the Dark Magician build, like just straight monster offensive. But
yeah,
I wasn't very good at the game.
Yeah, I think mine was. I had so many too. I know if I started out right away with the Yugi structure deck with Dark Magician, but I think for the majority of my time, I actually had a water deck. I had Yumi or whatever it is, and then I had a bunch of pretty decent water monsters that didn't require a whole lot to summon, that would hold their own, and with a good equip card with my field spell, usually gave me pretty good deals. I think I also had at one point pretty decent like dark dimension deck. Yeah, I had a lot of weird like structures because I bought like a lot of like the little $5 booster packs. So I had like a lot of hodgepodge cards. Not a lot of them really fit together. So,
I did a toon build. Well, started to do a toon build. That was pretty cool.
Doing the Pegasus Toon World build, yeah, which they have all the structure stuff in there. It's pretty difficult in Duel Links, I think, to get toon cards though. Oh, another thing I'll mention when it comes to like cards and stuff like that is they give like these tickets away. And like the tickets are just like it's a coupon for free like ultra rare or super rare, or like they have, or you know, just rare or uncommon cards. So it's like I said, it's really generous, really generous. Like I had like, I didn't even realize it, but like after 2 days of playing, I had like 15 tickets of varying rarities. I was just surprised, just really generous. So yeah, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Anything else?
No.
All right, let's go on to GTA in 2020. Green, I'll let you kind of take it away here.
In the 2020s. So yeah, everyone knows that the Epic Game Store had a moment of free Grand Theft Auto 5, which included Grand Theft Auto Online. So of course I picked that up. I haven't played it since like early 2019 maybe, on my PlayStation. It might have been late 2018. I actually ended up selling my copy of it to my stepdad because he didn't have any games to play and I wasn't playing it at the time, so I hadn't touched it in forever. So I picked it up. The biggest thing I wanted to do when I picked it up was play online. I was really hoping that I could port over my PlayStation 4, PlayStation stuff to it, because I had a lot of shit like online. I think I had upwards of like $10 million just sitting there, untouched, unsullied by the touch of man. But unfortunately, that cross save thing actually ended. Honestly, I think it was late 2018, to be perfectly honest. But the game is fun. Like, it is still as fun as when GTA Online first came out. People, I've noticed the biggest thing playing on PC is the community, like the players that are in the game or on that server usually don't tend to mess with you. Whereas like on PS4, if they saw you in the map, you might as well just get ready to fight, because like they do not care. They will fight you. They will try to kill you by whatever means necessary. And with PC, like they were chatting in the thing, they were super nice. One of them asked me if I needed anything, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I've played it on PS4. I'm just here to level up and have a good time. Started out doing some races, trying to get my level up so I could buy a place. I know that with the the free game, you actually got cash in game too. I think it was like $1 million starting out. So I picked up an apartment with a 10 stall garage, I think. And if you actually go on your phone or on the internet in game, a lot of the websites that you can get like cars and stuff from have free cars that you can get as well. Like one of them was a supercar. I can't remember what it was called, but it was free. Like Rockstar was really welcoming new people in. And for the game being 7 years old, I mean it's still got a lot of life in it. I mean, all the DLCs were free online as well, so like you could start up a biker gang. The biggest thing I'm interested in is setting up a role playing server, which I'm working on right now. The I would say it's a game that since it is free, it's definitely worth it. But to play it all the time would definitely require having some friends that also have it. Which if you're in the PC area, I mean, I sure hope that your friends picked up that game for free. Um, and if you didn't tell your friends that it was free, shame on you.
Well,
Thankfully.
if their friends didn't pick up the game for free, it's probably because they weren't told by a podcast like this one. You don't want your friends to lose out on those kind of deals again. You owe it to them to tell them about this show.
Yeah,
Saves you a ton of time
absolutely.
if you just tell them about the show and then we handle the rest.
And we
You don't
tell
have
them
to
every
inform about
Tuesday.
everything.
Yeah, we tell you every Tuesday. So
Sorry,
yeah,
shameless plugging.
it's it's alright. But yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, nothing's really technically changed. It's still Grand Theft Auto Online, Grand Theft Auto 5. Um, you can still play the campaign. Everyone had fun with the campaign. I think it was one of the best Grand Theft Auto campaigns in the whole series. I think the only thing that really compares to it is a nostalgia trip with Vice City. With the aspect of playing three different characters, and Grand Theft Auto 4 was okay in terms of graphics, but the story wasn't very great. Whereas Grand Theft Auto 5 had really good graphics and a fantastic story.
Yeah,
So
I've been playing the story little bits by little bits, probably like an hour or 2 hours here or there. It's been really enjoyable in terms of the story mode. I know this is like the first GTA I've ever actually played, because I had parents who didn't want me to have GTA. So, yeah, this is my first time actually playing a GTA game, which has been a fun experience.
you know how I got my first GTA game?
How's that?
Uh, I told my grandma it was a racing game, Grand Theft Auto.
There you go. You win.
Auto.
Never mind the fact that the title of the game is a legitimate crime.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Vice City too.
Even
Yeah.
better.
So, yeah,
Actually-
and then my mom saw me playing it. She's like, whatever. And then when San Andreas came out, I kind of had to like con my dad into getting it, because my mom's like, no, that looks a little bit better detail wise than the last one. So she's like, and I'm like, Dad, dickhole.
Hearing Danny talk about that, it kind of made me think, back on because fun fact, the only GTA I've ever played was Vice City. I still haven't played 5. I never played San Andreas or anything like that. And I got to thinking, I never owned Vice City. I always played that at a friend's house. So having GTA 5 now is the first GTA I've ever had, and I still haven't played it yet.
If you ever get the chance, I very much recommend picking up San Andreas. That was probably in terms of like playability and the campaign and the story. I think that was hands down the best story wise. So the only reason I think Vice City is better for me is because that was the first game I played. And I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of heavy nostalgia. I play it with my cousins all the time. Seeing who could beat it faster over and over again, weekend after weekend. So, yeah, San Andreas. If you have a chance, if it's on the Steam, like the summer sale, if it for some reason is on the summer sale for super cheap, a couple bucks, pick it up. It's a good game.
Yeah.
See, my extent of my knowledge on San Andreas, aside from the hot coffee mod, which at the time was an actual massively controversial topic. Was the "oh shit,
had
here we
that
go
copy.
again" memes.
I had that copy too. I never knew about that copy or that issue until like after the fact, like years down the line. But I had the the hot coffee stuff. So
Yeah. Well, since we're on the topic of GTA, I should mention I do know Mike Hunt, the real Mike Hunt. He only got paid $300 to do that voice. No joke.
it's definitely a man of character.
he is a character. Yeah, so I've been enjoying GTA 5 online. I was a great fucking steal, honestly. That's what it was. It was a fucking steal. I'm looking forward to doing roleplay with you, though.
The biggest issue I had with it, and this is just like personal, like it's not horrible, is like I picked it up on Epic Games, and I never had the Rockstar launcher installed, and it made me download the Rockstar launcher, which I get it. It's a Rockstar game, but like I have too many launchers.
Yeah.
Like I don't like having 20 launchers on my PC. Like,
yeah.
It just drives me insane.
Well, and what sucks is that it not only... I mean, it also just opens up the Rockstar launcher when you try to... Like, that's just the thing. It's like, okay, cool. I wanted to play this one game. Now I have 4 programs open. Like, thanks. It's a pain in the ass.
Boo, Wendy.
Boo, Wendy.
Boo, Wendy Testaberger.
Anything else on... GTA in 2020?
If you missed the sale, and shame on you if you did, if you watched the show and still missed the sale, keep an eye out for another sale, because I'm sure it'll go on sale again.
Yeah.
In the future, and even if you had to pay like, $10-15, I mean, it's still a good game. It's a fantastic game.
It's got hours of content.
It's 7 years old and it still has a huge community playing it.
Yeah,
a huge community is streaming it. It's still a big game.
And it's a game that has limitless possibilities, right? You can do roleplay with your friends. You can create all sorts of rules in your own little world with your buddies to make things even more interesting.
It's like Sims, like multiplayer Sims, but you get to shoot each other.
Yeah.
I want to get Disco Dick in on a role playing server. I'm just saying.
All right, I'll get it set up.
So we should probably move on to our next topic here, which is not usually in our wheelhouse, but it's at least worth mentioning and talking about real quick because we have multiple streamer friends who didn't realize this was a thing. So the DMCA and Twitch, and I'm going to be 100% honest here. I'm just going to dunk on Twitch here. 100% going to dunk on Twitch. Because really this situation just shows how inept they are as a company, right? So for those who don't know, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act is not a new act. It is over 20 years old. It is an act that is used often by large companies and organizations like the like the RAII or RIAA. Anyways, the big fucking music companies like BMI and UMG and stuff to protect their intellectual properties.
Studio.
Yes.
Universal Studio is horrible at it too.
Yeah.
They will hunt you down.
Yeah. Disney. Another big one that uses the DMCA.
Oh yeah.
So, it's not a new act. It is enshrined in law, and companies do have a right to protect their intellectual property. Twitch was admittedly already muting VODs of copyrighted music. But other than that, they were actually really, in my opinion, they're doing so little to enforce laws on their platform that's one of the laughable parts about this. And then when they get called out on it by these large record companies, they provide no warning to content creators and just start issuing copyright strikes and threatening the livelihoods of creators. So to put this, at least my thing out there, not only can Twitch not effectively monitor and fairly and evenly apply its own policies on its website, it cannot even do the same for laws, and then they fuck over creators because they weren't clear or they were not communicating with creators on this matter. Worse yet, there are creators out there who are playing games like Guitar Hero, Just Dance, and games with other licensed music in it as a core part of the gameplay. And they're doing nothing to protect those creators. The only game that was covered was Twitch Sings. So that's like a big part of like why I'm fucking angry, because there's creators out there who do karaoke games and Guitar Hero and Just Dance is a core part of their content, and now they're getting fucked over for it. And I'm going to say, you know, I am 100% guilty of playing copyrighted music as background noise on my stream. I am 100% guilty of that. So, and there's not really a defense for it. I knew it was wrong when I started streaming. I just didn't care.
But there's a reason if you use it on YouTube, they send you an email, letting you know that, hey, due to a copyright strike by this label, due to the DMCA, that you've been demonetized, or any
the revenue
record label.
Yeah. But that's one of those things. But Twitch didn't communicate that to anybody. Twitch just started giving bans out and giving copyright strikes, and no communication.
As far as I've read, they haven't banned anybody, and they did issue a statement yesterday that they had a mass DMCA complaint, just like a mass rollout of them. So what probably happened was UMG, because it seemed like I was reading, somebody was compiling a list of all the songs that were being hit on, and the majority of them were owned by UMG.
Doesn't surprise me.
No. And what I'm assuming happened, because if you remember a few months ago, there were streamers on Twitter that were sharing their clips that had copyrighted music, and they were getting suspensions on Twitter for using these clips. What I'm thinking happened is somebody got bored during quarantine over at UMG, threw that same kind of scrub bot that they use on Twitter and whatnot over to Twitch, because it caught their attention because of the recent issues just a couple months back. And I think that's what ended up happening in the system. Unfortunately, it is kind of their responsibility to issue those. It's just like with it was one of those, they were not very proactive with it. It was we're not going to treat it like a problem until it's a problem kind of thing. And that definitely needs to be addressed. At the same time, on the issue of using copyrighted music for alerts or background noise and stuff like that, that kind of falls back a little bit more on the creator, in my opinion. Because you kind of need to know the laws of these things, and but again, the law is outdated AF. Like, it's a super outdated law. And there are ways to reconcile this. And I think it became a very reactionary thing. It became pretty big. It was like this week's thing that streamers have to worry about or whatever. And I think after it's all said and done, within the next couple of months, I'm looking at possibly seeing something that maybe Twitch purchases a license. Because here's the thing, on Twitch, if their music's being broadcast out, Twitch can get a license for their platform to be able to have that music on it, right?
Yes, technically yes, I believe so. That is such a, let me just say, for my market, right? For those who don't know, if this is your first time, I work in radio, and I was actually just talking to my operations manager today about this very issue. I asked him, for our cluster, how much does it cost to pay for the big licenses that you need to operate? Because when I was a general manager of my college radio station, I knew it was like, we had a max budget of 10 grand every year, and our license for that station, which had a 5-mile radius, was 8 grand. For our 4 stations, which we have, one of our stations is on one of the 5 tallest towers in the fucking country. It's 100 grand for our 4 stations. So for Twitch, however many large, super huge licenses that they're going to need, Umbrella, and also something to remember is that UMG has their own license. BMI has their own license. There's the ASCAP and the CCAP. I mean, there's so many. If you want to cover all the music that could potentially be played, you're looking at millions and millions of dollars. I don't see that as a viable option for Twitch, because why does Twitch care if content creators can use copyrighted music on the platform?
Right. Well, I mean, there are a lot of copyright free options out there. Like you use a lot of you use a lot of artist owned music.
Yeah.
And then I've been using Harris Heller Stream Beats, and then Pretzel Rock is another really good one. Monster Cat, you can purchase like the license to certain record labels music, or I don't know the exact in and outs of Monster Cat, but it's another option.
Yeah.
I do I feel like I saw somebody put it on Twitter earlier, and this is kind of like how I'm feeling about it. It was like, is this anything new? No. Has this happened before? Yes. Could Twitch have communicated it better? Absolutely. Will it be the last time we hear from this issue? No. So it's kind of like, get to know the law, cover CYA, cover your ass more than anything. And then, from there, kind of see what you can do. But now a lot of people are using this as an opportunity to market their own music. Hey, you can use my music, and it's DMCA I saw Bungie said, one of the guys from Bungie today said, you can use our music for any of your content. Just make sure you put your own voice to it. That's it. Yeah. That's all we have. And I'm like, I think that this could end up being a good thing. And the way they were issued, I don't see the copyright strikes holding up like as a 3 strikes and you're out thing with Twitch, because they actually addressed it like, hey, we're trying to figure out how to fix this. Like as smaller content creators, like I was nervous, because if you get those 2 copyright strikes, those are strikes. You can get a 3rd strike for any other random TOS violation and you're gone. They won't do that to somebody who makes them millions of dollars a year or something. But at the same time, you gotta, they'll throw us under the bus quick. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's part of the thing for me, like just talking about how Twitch has just been inept. I mean, I don't make my feelings unknown about how I feel Twitch conducts themselves with especially small affiliates. The shifting sands in which they constantly have, creators under. And this is just another example of those shifting sands. Again, I think a lot of the copyright music issue people should have been aware of. I think you have to have a basic understanding of media law if you want to be in media. It's in DMCA. It's 101. It really is.
Well, and see what this right here, what this whole situation is of people freaking out about this all of a sudden is the perfect example of people agreeing to terms of service without reading them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's in there. It's in there. I mean, they kind of narrowly defined the guidelines themselves over the last few days, especially considering what happened. But it does say, you can't play music that's not licensed to you. My first question was, how is this going to affect people who primarily stream these games? Because if this is going to be an issue for people who primarily stream those games, they need to pull them from the directory. That's the thing. If you're going to get copyright strikes, because I saw on that list a good 85% of the copyright strikes that were hit were on songs that are on Just Dance.
Yeah.
And if that's going to be a problem, you need to pull it from the directory and say, hey, listen, sorry, we've got to cover ourselves, because we could be liable for a lawsuit if we allow repeat offenders to keep doing it. And that's true. They could be.
Yeah.
You're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you put it in the directory, say, oh, yeah, you can watch people play this game. You can play this game. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, people should know, but at the same time, there's a lot of muddy waters on the Twitch side of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially because, like, I've been playing Fallout New Vegas. I now can't use the radio in Fallout New Vegas. We can't use radio in GTA now. Right. That was one of those things that was never made clear by Twitch either.
Right, like how video game soundtracks affect, because I was playing Brutal Legend, and that's all copyrighted music. The soundtrack in that game is nothing but copyrighted music. Yeah. And so it creates a little bit of a muddy water. And the easiest way I was trying to explain it to somebody, even though the rule is outdated, try to compare it to whenever, because people, the big thing is people are, and we, this is something I actually do feel needs to be addressed, is that people are saying, well, I pay for a Spotify subscription, I pay for Apple Music. You pay for a personal license.
Yeah.
That doesn't give you freedom to air it out, because imagine if a radio station host just played their Spotify playlist on the air. That's not how it works.
Well, so going back to college radio days, that was how we actually were operating, and I tried to put a kibosh to that really fucking hard when I became the GM. Because there was multiple things that was wrong with my student radio station when I was the GM, and part of it was that, and I'm like, first off, Spotify licenses are only for individuals. It's not for rebroadcast. Secondly, we can't be held. We another part of it is we can't monitor 100% of the time what is being done on air, or know that it's 100% reliable, because radio stations have to be using public airwaves. You have to be accountable for every second of air. Every single second, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you have to know exactly what went out over the airwaves. And that wasn't like accountable, and that's not accountable. Sorry, I'm getting into my radio discussion here, but student radio stations do try to use Spotify, and it's not right.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, it could get them shut down. It's like the same, that like these things need to be put out there though for people to hear. Because another thing is, I see a lot of people using the what happened to the Fair Use Act. The Fair Use Act is a defense in court when you're being sued.
Yeah. It's
not so you can keep your clips on Twitch. It's a completely different world. So stop using the Fair Use Act as an excuse. And also your Spotify subscription or your Apple podcast. If you're on Apple Podcast, here, or if you're, you get an Apple subscription, those do not qualify as being able to distribute them over the internet.
Yeah. So if I can real quick, because a lot of people, I also want to say this because a lot of people might get in trouble for this too. Let's say that you're going out and reaching to artists to play music. Always 100% ask, do you own the rights to your music? You'd be surprised. If they're on a record label, they probably don't own the rights to their music. So in double check.
Writing.
Yes. Would not, I mean, yeah, get it in writing.
Tangible evidence.
Tangible evidence.
I mean, it could be a message from them, but something tangible for you.
And always consult a lawyer. Do not take legal advice from somebody on the fucking internet. Number one, I actually don't think if you're not a lawyer, you're not even technically supposed to give legal advice. So for liability purposes, the only legal advice I'm giving you is talk to a lawyer. Number two, getting legal information from somebody on the internet who may or may not be a lawyer does not mean they're your consultant, your legal counsel, and they will not represent you in court. So if you have any questions, content creators, legally speaking about any laws, consult a lawyer who's willing to represent you in court. Number one thing I can suggest to you people, especially when it comes to copyright and fair use. That's about it. And I might do this later where I'll show people how to approach bands and artists about getting music, because I have to, and I will actually share my 2 playlists that I use right now. I'm working on building more. Actually, I just got an email back. I'm gonna shout out to these guys from a hardcore band called Low End from Milwaukee. I saw their set on LBD. Fucking sick, man. Like it's one of those sets that made me fucking want to like throw elbows in my fucking chair. But I will show at a later point how to contact bands, the questions to ask, and how to handle that. I'd use the Spotify playlists, but I'm covered from that because I know we just said, well, you can't use Spotify. I'm covered because the redistribution is allowed by artists who own their music through broadcast. Right? They're saying, yes, you are okay to use this as background noise in your stream. We appreciate you for doing that. Right? You can get MP3s from them, but again, the question always has to be, do you own the rights to your music? If yes, you're okay to do it. But be sure they actually do own the rights to their music. Like, make sure they're not like signed somewhere, because some artists, depending on who you talk to, you might get the dumbest fuck in the goddamn band who's like, oh yeah, no, it's like our music, we wrote it, we can use it no matter how we want. No, you can't.
Like, legally, you are wrong, sir.
You are wrong, and you're gonna get people in trouble doing that. I feel like we've rambled quite a bit on this, and I apologize.
I have one final just little disclaimer.
Yeah.
Feel free to use copyright-free music players. They're out there, and commission people for custom alerts and music. You're helping out of fellow small creators somebody who may be under the radar.
Yeah. I actually just talked to a coworker / acquaintance of mine. He's in a metal band around here. So shout out to Alex over at Guilty of Treason and his bandmates. I'm having him commission me a new hype soundtrack instead of using Knocked Loose's Counting Worms.
Call from the Void.
Dre's Force.
Call from the Void.
Call from the Void is a fucking banger.
Yeah. I have a couple of their songs on the hardcore and metal playlist. It's pretty fucking great. Like The Vessel is pretty good. I mean, my last point about this is just the start for Twitch when it comes to these kinds of issues. I've been saying this for a while. Twitch is going to become the next YouTube. We're kind of at that point where if we look at the parallel histories between them, this is the point in which YouTube started having a lot of issues in terms of advertising and copyright problems and content monitoring and stuff like that. Twitch is at that point in its history. And we're going to see a lot of issues. We're going to see advertisers pull out because they don't want their content associated with certain creators and certain types of content, just like YouTube did. It's inevitable. I hope Twitch can look at what happened to YouTube and say, let's avoid this for our creators' sake, because YouTube didn't. YouTube didn't want to protect their creators. YouTube just wanted to protect their ad revenue and let massive media companies grift off of YouTube. So hopefully Twitch can avoid that. And they look in the past and see what happened to YouTube. I have
Twitch
doubts.
Necessarily had it. Yeah, they haven't had a good track record of handling situations. No. What, like the Ninja situation was a pretty rough one.
Yeah.
They learned from it.
Yeah.
Be proactive. Don't do something stupid and have to learn from it when you're a, organization that big.
Yeah, with a lot of people's livelihoods on the line too. I mean, that's another big thing. Is Twitch? You have a lot of people's lives in your hands, and so it really does behoove you to be proactive in those issues. All right. So that's our DMCA talk on Twitch. I know we don't really talk about streamer stuff all that often, but it was pertinent to talk about. All right. Let's talk Destiny 2.
Yeah.
This is all you, Green.
He's been waiting in the wings, dude.
Oh, it's been very hype. I'm going to start off by saying that I have not been very active with Destiny 2 since the start of Season 10, which was the last season. I think I played maybe 6 hours total in the last 3 months, I think. Simply for the fact that it was what they call content drought. The season had brought back a few things. It brought back Trials of Osiris, and that was supposed to be a big thing. But when they brought that back, they thought that that was going to be a huge pushing point for this season, and that's all that people were going to need to play and to keep their player base, their loyal fans, the loyal players. Well, especially on PC, it was really tough to play because they had a lot of issues. They had just moved to Steam in October. Cheating was very rampant, especially in Trials, which is huge because as a highly competitive game mode, and for those who don't know what Trials is, and never experienced it in Vanilla D1 or Vanilla D2, it's a this iteration is a 3v3 survival game mode. If you get killed, you cannot revive unless a team member revives you. And the first team to be eliminated or the time run out and have the most lives wins. And you have to, the goal is to win 7 games in a row without losing a game. If you lose a game, it's fine. You get a card with 9 slots. If you lose 3 times, that card's done. You have to restart. But the main goal was getting 7 games done in a row, which they call flawless, and that would give you special access to an area called the Lighthouse. In Vanilla D2, it was the Spire, because it was called Trials of the Nine, not Trials of Osiris. In D1, it was Trials of Osiris. So with all the rampant hacking, they changed the meta base. Everything was a little wonky. It wasn't a fun season. It was very dry. They had this thing called Sephiroth Towers. The actual story content was very lacking. The Sephiroth Towers were like a public event that you had to do, and you essentially just were fighting ads and threw some balls at a tower. That's it. So there's a lot of complaints this season. I was one of them. But today they released season 11. With it, this earlier today, 9 a.m. Pacific time. What the fuck is going on up there? 9 a.m. Pacific time, they released a Vidoc. They were doing it live on Bungie's Twitch, and they did a lot of shit. They unveiled a lot of things. They actually put a roadmap all the way to 2022, which they've never done before. They released a teaser trailer for the X Pack in fall, the content that they're gonna release, the expansion on September 22nd. They even put a date to it. They did a very fantastic job with this whole live presentation. They did a moment of silence at the beginning of it. That was 8 minutes and some odd seconds long. Really thoughtful, really put together. But the biggest thing is the content that they were willing to release, the information that they dropped. They talked about how PlayStation 4, Xbox One, when the new consoles come out, they will have generational crossplay. So people on PS4 can play with PS5 players, as well as Xbox One and Xbox, the sex box. I can't remember. I don't know what they're calling it now.
The sex box.
I'm dead adamant on calling it the sex box.
The Series X.
Because
you know what?
Series X. So
yeah, you can.
I'm with it.
But yeah, and they said, they were outright honest. They're like, we're working on crossplay all together, so people on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC can play together. It's in the works. They had a fantastic trailer for the new season, which new expansion, which they're calling
something light,
Beyond Light.
right? Yeah.
Beyond Light, yeah. Then they unveiled 2021's fall expansion, which is the Witch Queen, and then 2022 working title Lightfall. So they then were talking about everything that was coming with that. A new ability that Guardians will be able to use, which has been speculated and asked for years since Destiny 1, which is darkness powers. They're introducing a new element called stasis. So many different things in this. They're uh, doing sunsetting weapons, so weapons that you got at the beginning of the year. I think it's like to season 8. I think they said that they're gonna cap the power. You can't increase those anymore. Try to get the sandbox refreshed, which I wasn't a huge fan of. Like I'm not a huge fan of that idea still. But as long as they're rolling out fantastic content to subsidize that and actually bring in a lot of different favorable weapons, then it can't be mad about that. Then they ended the video with the information about the season that dropped today, because this was the first that they talked about it. And they're like, well, it's actually live right now. It dropped at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I can't. It was called Season of Arrival, or Season of Arrivals is what they're calling it. It's actually doing a lot with story. I watched some streams earlier today after the whole Bungie stream. They actually are introducing and bringing in the darkness more, which is like the big bad that we know of. New public events, new weapons. The weapons look fantastic. They introduced 2 different swords, which swords have not gotten very much love in Destiny 2. One of them looks like a Cloud's sword. What's it called? Cloud's
The Buster?
The Buster Blade.
Yeah,
Sword?
yeah, the Buster
Yeah.
Blade. One of them looks like the Buster Blade. It's a big old, looks like a helicopter blade, and then one's like a hook looking thing. It's really interesting. So new weapons are in, a new exotic grenade launcher, and then all those public events. So they're really, I think this today has been a real turning point for Bungie in Destiny 2, especially with how poorly received last season was and these seasons past since Shadowkeep. Because there's always been like some areas that were like the fan base is like, I can't keep playing this game. Everything's stale, rigid. I had to force myself to play it, and then Bungie comes up with this huge fall expansion. After a month or two, people steadily progressively leaving the game. Like, oh, look what we've done. Come back to us. Well, with today, I feel like they've really like, hey, look, this is what we're gonna do for the next 3 years. We're gonna be open and transparent about it. We're gonna try to actually open up and make this a better experience for everyone who plays it. Because like I was in the same boat. Season I couldn't. It felt more like to play the game, having fun. So with that being said, when they introduce this, it feels like they're being more honest and open. The attempting to get their feet on the ground and push forward. That's what I really appreciate about a dev. As long as they're transparent and they're like, hey, we hear you and we're visibly trying to do better. I mean, that would be a solid dev in my opinion.
Is that what you appreciate about them devs?
That's what I appreciate about them devs. Yes.
All right, you can take it about 10% off there, Squirrely Dan. So I'm sorry I interrupted there. Anything else?
Oh no. Another thing is they were talking about how they're gonna the games become massive, like in terms of file size. with how many plants they have and stuff like that. They're going to be rotating things in and out of the game. Things that aren't played very much, they're going to rotate out into what they're going to vault it, is what they were saying. And then actually start releasing stuff out of this vault from like D1 and D2, like a greatest hits kind of thing, where like 1 month or like an update comes and you can play something from D1. I know they and Rev just reminded me that Vault of Glass is coming early 2021. So that is huge, especially for the D1 players, because that is. They say that is the raid that saved Destiny. Because at the time there wasn't like people got to endgame and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do now. And so they released Vault of Glass, and it gave people something to strive towards for endgame purposes, and created its own unique niche in gaming, like the raid culture for Destiny. So that was huge. So they're bringing that back. That's going to be in there. And I said they said not 2020. So I would say early 2021, because that's still year 4.
I love what the
Gotcha.
Vault of Glass did for like you said, the raid culture, because now like these world's first runs, like the world's first raid completion runs. Oh my god, they're huge and they're fun to watch. Like I don't even play Destiny 2, and they're so fun to watch. All these raid groups going at trying to figure out how to beat this raid and be the first one there. It's incredible.
That's what I love about it, is it's when a raid drops, they don't tell you how to do it. There's no guidelines, there's no waypoints. You just figure out how to beat it, and you beat it, and you're done. So it gets super competitive, especially with I think it was Forsaken, when they dropped the last Wish raid. They introduced the what's it called? Contest. Yeah, it's the contest. So for the first 24 hours of the raid drop, power, like light level, doesn't matter. Once you get to let's say the light level is 980 for that event. If you're level 990, it's not going to matter. You're going to be capped at 980. You're not going to do any more extra damage just because you're 990. But it made it super hard. When I was doing a day 1 of try on Crown of Sorrow, we couldn't get past the 3rd encounter on PS4 because it's so damn difficult. Like, we knew what to do. It's just something would happen and we would die because we are not just a little bit over what is recommended. So
cool. Anything else on Destiny 2? Sounds like it's going to be a massive reinvigoration of the game. So I'm excited to see what's that?
Play with me. Give it another shot, Danny.
You know what? I'll take you up on that.
Okay.
Especially once I get my new PC built. I'll take that up with you.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else on that, we'll move on to our next topic, our next story here, which is this massive YuGiOh fundraiser package. Holy shit. Just fucking kudos to YuGiOh as a platform for pulling this off. Their goal is 1 million.
Proud of them.
Yeah. Their goal for this, so massive bundle from YuGiOh. For those who don't know, YuGiOh is an independent game distributor where like indie devs can put up demos and sell tools and sell games for pretty cheap. It's really fucking nice. We've talked about YuGiOh on the podcast before. They raised over $3 million for charity, including organizations actually focused on organizations for racial justice. Some of the organizations that are included on that is the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the Educational Fund, as well as the Community Bail Fund. The bundle has a $5 minimum donation and features over 1,000 games currently. Some of the games that are included there are some indie darlings like A Night in the Woods, Minute, Oxenfree, A Short Hike. There are some more obscure titles, some newer titles on there like Death and Taxes, Mortician's Tale, and The Night Fisherman, which I actually have the demo for. I downloaded and installed the demo over the weekend. I was planning on doing something over it, but I kind of realized it's a very story-based thing, and I didn't want to ruin the story. So I'm just gonna play it, and I'll talk about it here on the show. But I haven't touched it yet. So a lot of great stuff on there. Rev, did you see anything on there that like really piqued your interest for this bundle? I mean, there's so many games.
Yeah, that was it. Like, I was just so overwhelmed. I was like, I mean, I have to. Like I will say, like, I've never done anything that, when it comes to, since I got my PC, where it comes to not getting Steam keys. So it's like you do get download files for everything. You don't get Steam keys to integrate in, but $5 minimum.
Yeah, $5 minimum. Which I think for a cause like this, and I will say, like, there are certain groups who I do not support because of, in the past, there are some pretty egregious transgressions. Most notably, it's just the SPLC and their defamation, which was legally proven to be defamation against Majid Nawaz. I won't give the SPLC any money, but the NAACP I'm fully behind. The ACLU I'm fully behind. FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, I'm fully behind. Those groups 100%. I think this is a great cause.
Yeah. And then like you said, the raising of the money was just massive. And as an indie fan, seeing games like Oxenfree and Night in the Woods and stuff, I mean, these are games I personally already have, but these are games that if you don't have, you should be excited to get them.
Yeah.
Like, they're good games. And then, all like the obscure titles and stuff like that, I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I mean, I all of a sudden just got a massive backlog.
Yeah. So I mean, huge deal. Congratulations to YuGiOh for putting that together and for having such a smashing fucking success. Holy shit. Fantastic for them. I know we talk about YuGiOh every so often. It's definitely, if you're looking for games to try out, demos, there's a lot of horror games on there. The game that we got Greenleaf to play, Locked Up, that was an YuGiOh game, right? That wasn't a Steam game? Or was that a Steam game? I think it's on there.
I downloaded the demo on Steam.
Okay. Maybe it's on both. But there's been a couple different like horror games that I picked up off of there that are fun and like interesting, and you can, try the demos out and find them, later on and keep up with them. Yeah. Overall, just great. It's a great feel-good story.
And you got till June 16th. You still got a week.
Yeah, still got a week. Go pick it up. Which we need feel-good stories right now.
Yes. Yes, and that's such a good one, man. Like because all those games were donated to YuGiOh for this fundraiser, for all of these indie devs to come together like this and say, you know what, let's do this. Bam. Yeah. It's such a nice, a nice thing. Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
GG.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Anything else on this particular topic?
No, that pretty much kind of got everything out there. Just freaking do it.
Yeah. Kind of our next story here is loot boxes. This is actually kind of breaking news for us. We usually don't get to these kind of things because they usually happen on a fucking Wednesday, but it happened on a Tuesday this time. Hell yeah. So the government in Britain is calling for new evidence that clarifies the question, do loot boxes encourage gambling behaviors in children? My main source on this was Chris Moyse, Moyse, Moyse. I apologize if I'm butchering your name. He's over at Destructoid, so be sure to go check out his article. Like I said, he's my main source on this. So basically, this is being brought on by the Department of Digital Culture, Media, and Sport over there in the UK. And a big part of this was actually the global health crisis we are currently still experiencing, that is coronavirus. So here's a quote from Caroline Dinenage. Dinenage? Dinenage? I don't know how to pronounce. I am sorry. I am butchering names.
Manaj.
So this is a quote from the minister related to this. During the coronavirus pandemic, we have seen more people than ever turn to video games and immersive technology to keep themselves entertained and stay in touch with friends and family. These innovations can present challenges, though, as well as opportunities, which is why we are taking the necessary steps to protect users and promote this safe enjoyment of the dynamic industry. So that's their stated reason. Apparently too many people are like playing video games and spending all their money on FIFA boxes. So looking into it, which I'm very interested to see if they're going to conduct studies on this. I would rather see regulations based on studies if they're going to have regulations at all. Yeah, that's really about it. They're just wanting to understand, do these boxes, does this system encourage gambling behavior? Which I know this is a debate we've had on the podcast before, because I know at least one of our guests, and I think one of you guys have made this statement before, kind of comparing it to the studies about violence in video games. But was there Green looking guilty? Was it you, Green? Maybe. So I sincerely hope that they do put out some study, that they put the money out to do some studies to really do determine it. I think, in my opinion, there's a fundamental difference between how fake gambling like this has to like fake violence, because I don't really think this is fake gambling. I think this plays on the same psychological underpinnings that real gambling does. The only difference is, legally speaking, is the payout system. There's still the risk reward thing. That's my point there. So yeah, if there are scientific studies that aren't just 20 kids, it needs to be an actual scientific study that, we went over 2,000 children. We gave them, and I think the best way to do it would be like, you either have to use your mom, we give 1,000 kids their mom's credit card, and we give 1,000 kids their own money, and then see how, give them a month to play it, and then we give them a month, we swap or something like that to determine what their risk reward behavior is going to be. I would like to see that. I would like actual solid science and evidence on this very issue. Before,
because once you start just like making regulations completely on speculation, then it kind of opens the door for some pretty shady stuff.
Yeah. Did you know we can cure, homosexuality by shocking people in the fucking brain?
I'm gonna say real quick, super happy to see all of these cities and states and provinces, even up in Canada and stuff, outlawing conversion therapy. I'm just saying, I'll drop that one right now.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. 100%. That's why I made the joke. Because I think conversion therapy is a fucking travesty to the human condition. Okay. So that's the loot box story. We'll see kind of what comes out of that. We have one more story here that we should probably talk about. And that is you guys might have noticed we aren't talking about all these events that we mentioned 2 weeks ago. That's because they were moved due to protest and probably due to other external reasons. So coming up this week, this Saturday, excuse me. Wow. Dinner's fighting back on me here. So starting this week, the Guerrilla Collective, PC Gaming Show, and Future Games Show have all been moved to Saturday the 13th. This, we were supposed to have an EA Play Live this week, but that has been moved to June 18th. And the Summer Games Festival, the Steam Games Festival Summer Edition has been moved to June 16th. So all these gaming announcements have been pushed back by about a week to accommodate for protests and such, which I think is, a pretty decent move by most of these companies. They didn't want to take up the Twitter timeline space in muddy waters. So, fair enough. Good on them.
Good on these companies for speaking out too, man. Like they said that they were saying enough is enough, and they're speaking out to push their stuff back and to speak out against it. Of course we got to see how things play out. I would like to believe that these weren't just like empty promises, but it's really encouraging to see companies say, you know what, screw whatever it's going to do to profits from people who don't care about human rights. We're going to focus on this.
Yeah.
So good on them.
Yeah. Which, I'm a cynic. There are certain companies who I've seen their statements and I've seen their behavior, and I'm just like, I'm looking at you, Blizzard. I'm looking at you. How you feeling about protests right now, Blizzard? You
gonna human rights? Yeah.
I wonder if it would be a shame if a Hearthstone player took their post-interview time to say Black Lives Matter. I'd be very interested to see how Blizzard responds to that.
They'd probably suspend him.
Yeah.
Take away his earned money.
Yeah. Suspend them. Yeah. So yeah, those are the new dates. I won't be able to watch the ones this weekend live because I will be on a short little vacation and will be unplugging for at least a day. But I'll be coming back and we will. And I think our guest next week will be someone who's very plugged into this, so that'll be pretty fucking mint. Anything else to talk about on this particular topic?
No.
Cool. Well, let's go on ahead and wrap the show up. We'll go on ahead and plug ourselves here real quick. Green, what's coming up on your channel?
I'm gonna be playing Destiny 2. Lots of Destiny 2. I have, as I said, I haven't played all season, so I'm severely underleveled for this new season. I'm gonna start prepping for the fall expansion. Still, of course, gonna be playing some Warzone, Apex. My schedule is extremely full as it is, but I really want to squeeze in that role-playing server for Grand Theft Auto either this week or next week. Not sure. But yeah, you can catch me on my Twitch, twitch.tv/Mr. Green Elite, or you can look up my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you, I usually shout out there, have conversations on there when I'm going live and stuff like that, or any news about me will usually go to my Twitter. So if you haven't followed there, then, sorry.
Revsfen, what's coming up on your channel? Where can people find you?
Well, I'm actually fixing to be taking a short, well, not even a short, I'm taking like a full blown vacation going to Florida to see some really close friends. And so with that being said, I'm leaving out Thursday morning. So a lot of my streams while I'm gone, because I will be streaming while I'm gone, are going to be centered around the road trip. Like I'm going to do some just chatting stuff while we're on the road trip out. My wife will read chat. I'm going to be safe, I promise. Then on top of that, Saturday, we're going to have a bunch of friends together. You may know some of them. Viva Pinata is one of them. He was recently a guest. And if you watch on the Twitch channel, you've seen us raid Mr. Wingles. He's going to be one of them. And then my little sister Eliza will be playing Cards Against Humanity, like in person, but we're going to stream it, and we're going to let the audience be the actual judge. So the audience gets to pick who the winner is, as opposed to randomly amongst us. And then whenever I get back, the first game I'm going to stream is going to be this fun little game. I need to remember the title. It's the title's a little obscure. It's almost like in Portuguese, I believe, and but it's almost like an interactive musical platformer. It looks hilarious. I'll get the name for it and shout it out on my Twitter, which is at RevSpinTV, which is all of my social media platforms are the same. But my Twitch channel is https://www.twitch.tv/RevSpin. Boom.
Very nice. Very nice. Coming up on my channel, we're still playing Minecraft. We are actually working on a PvP arena, so hopefully once I'm done with that, we can do some fun PvP stuff. Do some trouble in Terrorist Town and such. Other than that, I don't know what else I'll be playing, and I don't actually know how much I'll be streaming this week. It kind of depends on how my internet is. I had a tech out, or I have a tech out on Thursday. I actually had a pretty in-depth, like 45-minute conversation with tech support on the phone, doing all sorts of tests to make sure that it wasn't my equipment. And they told me 95% of my neighborhood is having the same issues. And they alerted their network maintenance folks. They're supposed to be working on it. I don't know if they fucking are. So I don't know. If you guys want more content from me, do make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel that this is on right now. I'll for sure be getting stuff out on YouTube to try to, fill in time from Twitch. That's really all that I got, except for, follow me on Twitter at DannyK, DANIECAE. Also on Instagram, DANIECAE. Anything else that we need to talk about real quick before I wrap up the show here?
No, I think that was pretty concise.
Awesome.
Gucci.
So, of course, guys, we appreciate all of you who watch and listen to the show. I know we didn't have any music for the show because we weren't live. But again, just a shout out to our dude Lou Merck, who puts out awesome fucking music. He's the guy, if you guys are listening on Spotify, he's the guy that put together the beat that you listen on the podcast app. So make sure you guys go check him out. Check out the description of the episode. You can find that stuff. If you guys want to help support the show, there's a few ways you guys can do it. You can follow all of us on our social media platforms and Twitch channels. You guys can subscribe to the show. You guys can hit the bell. That helps out a lot, and hitting the like button. But the number one top tier way to really help the show is by telling your friends. That, again, I say this every week, but that means way more to us than any like or subscribe ever does. Of course, you guys can also leave us a rating and review on the podcast platform of your choice if you want to help support us that way as well. If you guys want to find us more, take us out on the road, you guys can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and hopefully you guys can join us live on Twitch 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will say next week, depending on the internet issue, we might be going live a little bit earlier to accommodate our guest who lives in the UK. So we might be going, so just as a fair warning for folks. Other than that, guys, we will talk to you again next week. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and arrest the fucking cops who killed Breonna Taylor.